of NCME's Graduate Student Issues Committee along with Scott Holcomb. I want to welcome you today to today's virtual brown bag event and thank you all for attending. Today we welcome Tuba Gezer, I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes.
Okay, a PhD candidate from the Educational Research Measurement and Evaluation Program at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Tuba serves as the president of UNC Charlotte's Educational Leadership Student Organization and is in her dissertation writing semester. Throughout the presentation, feel free to type questions or comments in the chat box. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation as well. I am now going to mute myself and turn things over to Tuba. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. I am going to share the content. Oh. How can I? Okay. It's in front of my face. Can you see my screen right now? Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to NCME Brown Bag series. My name is Tuba Gezer, and today we will talk about how to apply a restricted data license. Outline of this presentation will be an introduction about the available data, IES Data Training, project office requirements, application process, which is in two folds, electronic application and also sending your documents. And then I will have some tips about data analysis, and at the end, there will be some time for question and answers. National Center for Educational Statistics conduct multiple studies about educational outcome, and they are part of IES, Institute of Education Science. And they allow researchers to use their data with a license. So once you get the license, you have access to their data sets. In total, they have 33 longitudinal data sets and 21 surveys. And some of those data sets are longitudinal transition study, NAEP, what is one of the famous one, National Teacher and Principal Surveys, PISA assessment, National Assessment for Adult Literacy, and Common Core data. These are just some of them. And I want to point out some of these data sets are publicly available. You can just go to their website and get the data. So one of them is PISA, one of them is Common Core data. So for those data sets, you don't need to apply for license. You can just have access to it. But from now on, we will focus on the data set that you need restricted use data license. And one of them is National Longitudinal Transition data that I use. NAEP also is another one. And TPS is also another survey that you need. You can find more information about the available data set in their website. But right now we will. So why we need restricted use data? And why they are not publicly available, because these data are rich and qualified, and with their data you can individually actually identify students. So for example, data set I am using, they follow same students over 10 years, and they got so much information about that student, about their transcription, school program, their family. So because they have so much information about that students, those individuals are identifiable with their data set. And their information is protected by law, Privacy Act of 1974, and also Education Science Reform Act is also another one that protect individually identifiable information. So what does this license mean? This license means that IES will allow you to use their data set. you don't own the data. Once your license is over, you have to send back to that data IES. So like you have a temporary permission to use data as long as your license is valid. And also this license means that you have to, you are agreed to keep data safe from unauthorized disclosure, and you are accepting unannounced inspection from inspection of your data room. So they can come to your data room and check whether everything is as it's supposed to be. And this agreement, this license is not between you and IES, it is between your institution and also IES. That's why your institution should have license before you have access to data sets. So far, so good. Okay, so I assume most of us are graduate students right now, and you need to find like 3 people to help you in this getting license. One of them is principal project officers. It can be your advisor or as a faculty. As a student, you cannot be a principal project officer, so you have to find a faculty to support you in this process because you cannot be PPO. Another one is system security officers, and that person will help you with your computer because that computer cannot be connected to internet, and they have certain requirements about computer like virus protection and etc. So that person is going to support you about your technical side. Anything about your computer, your system security officer will help you with that. And the title in my institution was technology consultant, and those titles can change from institution to institution. So you have to find the right person to support you in this process. And the other one is senior official. This person will represent the university. And in my institution, her title was senior contracting negotiator. And I was lucky that my institution they already had another IES license, so they were familiar with that process. So when I start, I know who I need to go in order to get the license, or like it was easier for me to find those 3 people. So if your institution is not familiar with that process, you can start like asking questions, like you can talk to your mentor, and I'm sure like they will find a way to navigate that process with you. So the first step of this license is license user training, and this is a mandatory and annual training. Your principal project officer, system security officer, and other users that you can include on your license have to take this training. As you see, your senior official doesn't have to take it because they don't have like any direct relationship with the data. And you can find this training in NCES website. You will sign up with your name and email address, and you can access to training. So the overview of this training will be about requirement for project office, requirement for your computer. It has to be a desktop. It cannot be a laptop. And also it will about like how you can store data CD that you receive the data, and also hard copy of your output that you print. So, and it will inform you about like you need to, IES has to review your any documents that before you published, and then you have to keep your license up to date. It will inform you about like unannounced inspection and what you need to do when you want to close your license. And at the end, they will talk about penalties, and they will have a quiz. Once you finish all this and you pass the quiz, I think it was 70% accurate, and they have like 10 questions. So like that training is not really a lot, it will most probably take like 30 minutes of your time, but it will inform you pretty much like in the main aspect of data using. And once you complete all of them, you will receive a certification, and you have to repeat that every year as long as you have your data. So what about project office requirements? So this office has to be the business side of your institution. It cannot be in a dormitory, for example. It has to be in a building. It remains locked during non-business hours. And it has, so the building should be closed after business hours. And also the door should have a lock to prevent unauthorized access. And also it should only have access to people who are on the license. And if you are sharing like with multiple, like if they have multiple licenses, like only those people on license have access to that Zoom. And also that Zoom should have a warning that says like this Zoom is has restricted use data. And if you don't have access to, like if you are not on license, you shouldn't have access to it. And also, that room should include a cabinet or drawer that can be locked. In our office, we have like a locker. And once I analyze my data, I would take my computer case and secure in the locker and lock the cabinet. So when I am not in that room, even if somebody entered the room, they cannot still access to data because data is secure in a cabinet. So that's, these are like requirements that has to be present. And lastly, so like I said, when you are not using your data, you have to secure your computer. And even if when you, let's say your office room needs to be cleaned, the licensed user has to be present there when staff members are cleaning the room. So you cannot just leave them there. Any question about, are we good so far? So another step is about electronic application. And for this one, you have to work with your principal project officer because you will use her email address to get a license number. So I complete the electronic application, and it is not that long. And if your principal project officer wants to do that, like you have to communicate that part with them. So once you enter her information, you will see something similar to this. And as you see, there are like 5 steps of this electronic application. It is, first you will introduce your project officer, and then you will select your data file and project details, other users, and at the end you will confirm all of those information. So principal project officer, system security officer, and senior officials. Right now, you know who are these people, and you will provide information, their title, name, email, phone number, organization, address, and also you will confirm that they complete licensed user training. So once you enter all those information, you will move to second step where you select data files. At this point, you can choose multiple data file, but you have to know that for each data set you will include the project description. And project description is, it will include research objectives, research question, which variable you are going to use, research design, method analysis, and also why this study is important. And I think this was the most challenging part for me, because I didn't know how much detail they want. And eventually, like, mine was about 2 pages and I didn't have any question about it. So it doesn't have to be like really strict, like a conference, even like conference proposal is sometimes longer than that, or at least for AERA. So at this point, like, you have quite a lot of flexibility, as long as you clearly describe like what you want to do, then you wouldn't have any problem in this section. So other users, your principal project officer is your probably advisor or faculty. So at this step, you have to include yourself if you are applying for the data, or you are not a faculty. And or you want to and also you want to include any other faculty who can help you with your data analysis. If they are not on your license, they cannot help you with that data analysis. So it is important to include them. You can always amend your license and add users later, but it's better to know who is going to help you in the process, and you can include them in your license. At the end, you will review and confirm all those information are right. And then you will get your license number. That license number is important, and you will use that in all of your communication with IES if you need to. Okay, once you complete your electronic application, there are 3 attachments that you have to get the physical copy, and one of them is license. And that license is about 9 pages. This is the only like first page. And as I told you before, that license is between your institution and IES. So that license, each license can be for 5 years. You can also renew your license when it is at the end of 5 years. You can include up to 7 people unless you have a written authorization from IES. So you cannot just say like, oh, we are like 20, like in a classroom, like 20 people, let's get that license and use it. So it can be up to 7 people. So they have like limitation of that. And also your principal project officer will sign the license. Like as a student or like other user, they don't need your signatures. And data security plan. Data security plan includes physical. So for your data security plan, you will work with your system security officer. And this is about the physical security of your data and the security of like project office. So all the requirements that we talk about a project office, you will identify them in the project office security section, and your data security plan will include that. They will ask where is your project room and whether it is in the business side, like they will ask about the hours, which room, who has access to it. And also they have like certain requirements for the computer. As I told you before, it has to be a desktop and it has to have certain requirements about like virus protection. And the most important one, this computer cannot be connected to internet. And your principal project officer and system security officer will sign this data security plan for you. Affidavit of non-disclosure form. This form, your principal project officer, system security officer, and any other user that you included on your license have to sign an affidavit non-disclosure form. And okay, sorry. If the unlawful disclosure happened, then you may need to pay a fine up to $250,000 US. or imprisonment up to 5 years, or both of them. So you want to be really careful about their requirements because you don't want to pay that money, obviously. And another thing, that affidavit non-disclosure form has to be notarized. So you have to find a notary in your institution and sign when they are present. And you will add your license number on all of your documents. So if you see them before, like I had my license number on top of all of my documents. And once you complete all those documents, and I have to emphasize that part, like all the signature has to be wet signature. They don't accept electronic signatures. So be careful about that one. And you will get all of your documents and give it to your senior official. She will review it and sign it and send to IES. And once they receive all of your information, they will review and confirm your license. And once IES, they confirm your license, then they will send you data in mail, like as a CD, and also they will have like description of that data a little bit, like a couple pages. And also once you get the data, you cannot just use the CD and upload the data. They will send a token to your principal project officer, and you will get that token from your principal project officer with your system security officer to have access to data on the computer. And the moment you include, like before you upload the data, you have to disconnect your computer from internet. So let's say you didn't have any problem with your license, you got your license and you have the data right now. So I had to learn from hard way, but I'll share a couple tips about data analysis. So you will only have like one CD that has the restricted data. And once you upload that data to your computer, you have to keep that CD in your cabinet or like in a locker. It has to be secure. And in any case, you cannot upload your restricted data to external drive, thumb drive, flash drive, or any laptop, or connected to and connect your computer to the internet. So like these are really important. And it will, and because you cannot connect your computer to the internet when you have the data, before you upload your data to your computer, you have to really think about like which statistical analysis you use, which software you will need, and if you are using which R packages you are going to need. Because once you get your data, then you cannot go back and add them. I mean, you can, but you have to delete everything and start over. So at this point, like I would strongly suggest you to take a little bit time and understand like what you want to do, and make sure that your computer has all of the software that you need before you upload your data. So IES doesn't let you to get your data to an external drive, but you may save your syntax from SES data or SAS, whichever software you are using. So because you can keep your syntax, I would highly recommend you to use syntax even for your data cleaning process, because I had to start over. And at that time, like I think I spent a couple of weeks, but like point and click to clean my data. But when I start over, I was like, that was like really hard. I knew I had to do it, but it was like painful. So, and I was like, okay, lesson learned. I start to like create my subsample with like using syntax. And right now, even if I have to start over, it will still take a little bit time, but not as much as I did before. So just in case something will come up, like you will need something else, then your syntax will be your saviors. And also, that's also another thing I don't know I can emphasize enough. Like, be patient with yourself, because you are not familiar with the design of study, you are not familiar with the coding process, and usually they are pretty large and complex. So for example, I have about like 20 different data file, and also some of them has like 4,000 variables. So like it was really overwhelming to find like what I need exactly from all out of like all those variables. So that's why be patient. It will take a little bit time, at least until you get familiar with your data, and then hopefully it will be better. Okay, another thing you have to do, let's say you get your license, no problem, you didn't encounter any problem with your data analysis, you write your results, and you want to send your advisors, you can't. Your advisor has to come to your project office and see what you have done. So the only time that you can get your output, or like a result draft, or anything that you wrote about IES data, you have to send them for review, and you will send them via email. So for that one, you will use a thumb drive, but as soon as you send them, you have to delete from your thumb drive too. So that's like the only way you can export data before they review. So once they review and they said like there's no problem for your presentation or your draft or your result, then you can apply for, like, you can submit for manuscript, or if you want to do like a conference presentation, and all of those information will be via email. And one more thing, usually their response time about 3 to 5 days, so they will get back to you like pretty quickly. And the faculty that I am working with, like, he has been using this license like for quite a long time. Excuse me. And he said like they never reject it. They just want to make sure that nothing is there. So it's kind of just like an extra step, nothing that you need to be worried about it. That's all I have. Thank you so much. And if you have any question, feel free to ask. And this is my email address. If you need any, if you have any question or like.
You did a really good job, Tuba. That's really interesting.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, during this COVID thing, that really blows my mind. How they have to, you have to be at the school in a room, and the room has to lock, and you have to have a cabinet. So while you're doing your dissertation and you're doing your analysis, you have to be at the school in a room, right?
Yes.
You have to. So they don't have, they're not like lax on any of the rules with the COVID situation.
They actually did. I mean, right now I have to, I go to school and I work in the project office, but if you go to their website, they right now allow some doctoral students to access their data remotely, but they have limited space for that. And because when I got the license, I was so over of like lockdown, I was like, that's an excuse for me to get out. And right now, like, College of Education is pretty empty, so I feel safe about it. But they relax their rules a little bit for that process. But I don't know how the remote access works right now because I haven't done it.
There is a question in the chat, Tuba, about how specific does your research have to be in order to apply for access? If you just want to explore a particular data set, is that possible?
Is yes and no. So you're like, you cannot just tell them, oh, I'm just gonna look up like what is out there. So that's not the case. So you have to have like a broad idea what you wanna do. So for example, mine was about English learners with disabilities. And my question was like, I want to focus on their like post-school outcome. So even just like giving that amount of information, and I was like, what are the like significant predictors for their post-school outcome? So like my research question was like basically this. And like, that's like still pretty general, but at least they know what I'm interested in.
Just a follow up,
Sure.
mine. How did you know that data existed that had that information?
I think at this point, like mentoring come in place because I knew like federal data exists, but I didn't know our school already had like a license between them or like somebody's already using that data. My advisor told me. And then when I start to like look into that, I find that like there are like a lot of resources available, at least the data set that I am using, because it's longitudinal and like it's national representative sample. And right now, just like by going their website, like you can find a lot of different interesting data set to use.
Awesome, thanks. There are a few more questions in the chat. I can read you the next one. So it says, great and very informative presentation. Thank you. I have a question. How did you get to decide using IES data? If you talked about it and I missed it, please disregard my question.
No, I don't think I talk about it. I was like so focused on like giving every information about like data process. I didn't really talk about mine. So I think my advisor suggested, and originally I wasn't planning to like do it as part of my dissertation. So it was like, it was going to be a research project with her. But then when I came to my dissertation stage and I decided to do a 3-paper article, she said like, why you are not using this as one of your study? And I said, okay. And that's how it started. So it was like mostly thanks to my advisors. Yeah.
Cool. I don't know if people have follow-up questions, you can feel free to jump in, but there is another one in the chat. This is the last one that's in the chat. It says, are there any issues with having multiple users on a license? Is it difficult to share space and computer access?
I will talk about like my experience right now. I am working for my dissertation and so we have 2 licenses in my institution right now. One of them is mine and one of them is the faculty who is also working with, who is also on my license, and he has like a separate license for his computer, like for his research. And he only comes like maybe once a week. And that's why so far we don't really have any problem. And I am there a lot and he's okay with that. But if we have like multiple people, we may need to come up with schedule to make sure that everybody has equal access to. And all of research is about equality. So I think at that point, like we can come up with a schedule how people will use, and probably it will be the case for most institutions. And one more thing, addition to all of those requirements, because of the COVID, they also request how our institution is dealing with COVID. So we had to tell them send them all those information about our COVID guideline. Like we have to clean our room right now, like before we use. So for example, when I leave the room, I will clean, and when the faculty use, he would clean. So so there are like additional requirement about the COVID to make sure everybody's safe.
Awesome. If anyone else has any questions, now is a good time. Okay, well, that was awesome. Thank you, Tuba. I did not even really know that existed, so that is super helpful for me.
Good to hear that. I'm glad to be helped.
All right, well, thank you. And thanks everyone for coming. Keep your eyes out for the next one. It should be in about a month. So thanks, Tuba.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Tuba.